Hello, welcome to the first episode of the GymInformer podcast. I'm Chris Gilbert, co-founder of Classic Iron Fitness, here with my co-founder Jason Goldman, and our guest today is Will Crowder, owner of 3 amazing gyms in Southern Virginia called the Fit Club. Before we get started, we're going to take a moment and show you some photos from those 3 amazing gyms, and then we'll ask Will some questions about his gyms. Well, your first gym was in South Hill. What made you decide to open a pretty good-sized gym in such a small town? I think South Hill's less than 5,000 people.
Yes, sir. Ultimately, just because I was working a job that I didn't like, and I wasn't really happy to wake up and go to work every day. My hometown only had one gym, and it was a good gym. I just thought that South Hill needed a second one, and if I didn't do it, then somebody else eventually would. And I had surgery on my shoulder, and because I was a probation officer at my previous job, I knew I was going to be out of work for a while because they wouldn't let me go in and be around my clients if I wasn't physically able to defend myself if something did happen. So I was out of work for about 3.5 months, and I used that time to kind of research whether I thought I could make it work. And then it didn't take very long to decide that after being out of work for so long that I knew I didn't want to go back very long to what I was doing.
No, that makes sense. Now you started with the South Hill location, and now you have 3 locations. Can you walk us through a little bit of the progression from South Hill to South Boston and Danville? Danville's the newest, right?
Right. So South Hill opened in August of 2016. South Boston opened in May of 2021, and Danville opened in May of 2022, and Cambridge will hopefully open before the end of the year. Whenever they get the building ready, hopefully by December. But it was supposed to be this past September is when we were supposed to open. So they've had a lot of delays during the renovation process. But I guess the process of it was, so I had the first gym for, I guess 4.5 years before I opened up the second one. But I agreed to sign the purchase agreement before it ended up closing. It took a long time to go through that process, but I closed on buying my building right around the 2-year mark, and pretty much soon after that, I started looking for a second gym, and it just took about 2.5 years to really find the right spot to do the second gym. And COVID really kind of delayed that. We were planning on opening. I just hadn't signed the lease yet, but we were planning on opening the summer of 2020, and pushed that back because of COVID, essentially. So that delayed it about almost a year, before we did the second one. And then Danville, I'd never even been to Danville before. First time I ever went to Danville was when I was looking for a potential building, and that was just about a month after we opened South Boston. And that was strictly just because people were coming. Danville's about 90 minutes from where I live, so I drive an hour and a half every time I go to Danville. So South Boston is 45 minutes west of South Hill. Danville's another 30 plus minutes past South Boston going west. But people were driving from Danville to come to South Boston when we first opened, just because we had a lot bigger variety of equipment than anywhere in Danville had. and with the casino, Caesar's Palace is putting a casino in Danville, and it's like a couple $1 billion project in a city of 40,000 people. And I just figured, well, they had a bunch of just like 8 gyms in Danville, but none of them are really large or anything really out of the ordinary from basic gyms. And I just figured if somebody else didn't do it, if I waited, then a bigger corporate chain or somebody else would be doing it. So I kind of rushed to get to Danville because I really wasn't planning on looking for the third one a month after we opened up the second one. But that's just kind of how it worked out.
Yeah. There's a few things I think that are incredibly impressive about your gyms. One of them, in my mind, is that they're all fitness centers and they offer a wide range of things for a lot of people, but they also have a very like family friendly and like great atmosphere. They're badass gyms that you walk into and you're like, I could crush some stuff in here. I can really get a great workout. But at the same time, all of your staff that I've interacted with are super friendly. Everyone's very helpful. The members are very friendly. Is there something you've done to like kind of sponsor or kind of like promote that environment in your gyms, or did it just kind of like happen organically? Or
Uh, I mean, I guess organically, but it comes from. I mean, I think that's the big difference between independently owned and operated. I mean, not really a gym, but any business that's independently owned and operated. I mean, I think I care a lot more about the gym than any other gym owner that's strictly an investor, like of Anytime Fitness or any of the smaller chains would be, because they're just doing it from a strictly a profit investment standpoint, and pretty much any profit that I make just goes back into the gym, which is kind of helps us grow, but. I think I mentioned it last time, was basically a passion over profit. And the members kind of see that, especially early on. I mean, so I was born and raised in South Hill. I actually I bought my parents' old house when they moved. So I live about 4 miles away from here in the house that I grew up in. So, I mean, like I said, it's 5,000, less than 5,000 people. South Hill is pretty small. So, I mean, I know a whole lot of people around here, and most people know me or my family. And I think that really helped us out during COVID when we were shut down. A lot of people wanted to continue to support the gym even when nobody was allowed to come in, because they wanted to see the gym there whenever we were able to reopen again. And I don't think that many corporate gyms or large franchises really had that.
yeah, that makes sense. I think the other thing that really sets your gyms apart, especially from a small town gym standpoint, is the equipment variety, especially the equipment you have in South Hill and the equipment you have in Danville. Don't get me wrong, South Boston's got a good equipment variety also, but the equipment you have in South Hill and in Danville is top notch. It's a ton of Atlantis and Panada and Nautilus equipment. Is a reason that you seem to be drawn to Panada and Atlantis and Nautilus, or did that just kind of?
I just kind of the growth of me as a gym grower kind of coincides with the growth of the gyms and the variety of equipment. I never really went to. I mean, the other gym in South Hill, I think, is a very good gym. And I went to Radford in college, and not that I worked out but so much when I was in college, but nothing like I do now. But it wasn't really anything special. They didn't really have a special gym then either. So when I opened up this first gym 7.5 years ago now, I mean, I was passionate about the gym. I went all the time, but I was just a typical kind of gym bro that just used whatever machines were there. I didn't really know that kind of how much was out there, and kind of the how much different tiers and the quality of one leg press over another leg press, and that there's, I mean, hip presses and pivot presses and squat presses and 35 and 45 degree leg presses. And now, I mean, I think overall we probably have over 20 leg presses between the three gyms. Each one of them has 6 or 7 at least. I forgot what the question even was.
Oh, I
I
was
get
just
up on
asking if
tangents.
you were drawn to Nautilus and Panada
Oh,
or
so
and
so essentially, I was planning on doing the second gym in South Boston right before COVID. It was a gym that had closed down in Dunn, North Carolina. Uh, I guess it was end of March. Um, they had sold the building and had to have everything out, and basically within the next like 8 days. So that's Sunday, or really that Monday through Friday, we moved. We were moving 10,000 square feet worth of gym equipment. It took 3 transfer truckloads and 4 or 5 trips on my trailer going back and forth. That Wednesday in the middle was when the NBA suspended their season, and like I said, I didn't think COVID was going to be as long lasting and have the impact that it did, but I knew if the NBA was suspending their season, then it was. I thought that it was going to be more than what people were thinking at the time. I was actually supposed to sign that lease that Friday. I pushed it off just because we were moving equipment, and COVID kind of changed everything. And then I found myself having all this extra equipment, so I kind of fell into selling equipment by necessity. Because I didn't know how things were going to go and how long we were going to be shut down. Um, so getting into selling equipment, and even during COVID, we were shut down for 56 days, I think, in Virginia. Gyms in Carolina, they were shut down. I mean, if they abided by the regulations, they were shut down for like another month and a half or 2 months after that. But while we were shut down, I basically had sold almost, I mean, all the dumbbells, everything somebody wanted in a home gym, I had sold off and just was buying new and replacing it. And then, I mean, some of the other machines that I wasn't really planning on selling. I mean, people were wanting, so I was selling them and just buying new to replace it. And it's just kind of been a never-ending cycle ever since of swapping out machines on a pretty regular basis. And I've kind of learned a whole lot about equipment from that because I don't think any manufacturer really creates. No company makes the best of everything. Um, and I think that like the ones you mentioned, I mean, I think Panada, Atlantis, Nautilus. I hadn't used much Gymleco stuff, but I got a whole container coming that's supposed to be here by the end of November. Um, and I've talked to a whole lot of people and looked at a whole lot of reviews on that. I'm pretty excited about trying a lot of that stuff out. But just trying to get the best of the machines between all the different leading manufacturers, not just from North America, but kind of around the globe. Because everybody goes to the gym, I mean, everywhere. So a lot of other countries do things just as good or better than a lot of the American-made companies. But you just don't see it very often, so nobody's really experienced it or been able to try a lot of it. But eventually, so like I said, so I mean, South Hill's been open 7.5 years. Really, the last 2 years, pretty much everything's been replaced. Nothing here. I think it's about 3 strength machines that are here that I open with. And we've added, I mean, tons more. I mean, I thought the gym was pretty full when I opened, but it looks pretty empty looking at the old pictures of it now. I try to jam as much in here as I can without kind of making it too tight. But I'm sure everything is here now is a lot of it is going to continue to change, and being able to have multiple gyms and always moving stuff around, and everybody at the new gym is happy when they get a new piece. Even if it's South Hill's had it for 3 months, but it just kind of helps things. Having multiple gyms really helps moving and buying a lot of equipment and trying things out because I always have a spot to put something.
Yeah. Now, from an atmosphere standpoint, having been to all 3 gyms, I felt like that Danville and South Hill kind of had like a new school vibe, or like they felt very like that kind of atmosphere, whereas South Boston feels a little old school, not in a negative way. We love old school gyms, and it felt more old school. Did you do that on purpose, or did that just come about because of the building and the equipment that you put in there? Or was there a purpose for having a different, like an old school gym?
So South Hill and Danville are both in basically big metal warehouse buildings. So just walking in, the aesthetics is a lot different than South Boston. That's used to be a Goodies department store. So it's big. It's 22,000 square feet, and it's basically all gym floor space. So South Boston has the most variety of machines, just because the gym floor is a lot bigger than the other gyms. So South Hill is 18,000 square feet. South Boston is 22. Danville is 28. But the gymnasium basketball court takes away a lot of Danville. So the gym floor of South Boston is bigger than the whole gym of South Hill, even with that big area in the back with like the cross training and the turf and the heavy bags. And obviously, I mean, bathrooms, offices, the supplement store, I mean, all that takes away a lot of the actual floor space. So South Boston definitely has the most variety of equipment. But it's just the drop towel ceilings are a big negative. It just gives off a different vibe. But yeah.
Oh, I didn't think it was negative. It just felt kind of old school, and we love old school gyms. So,
well, I mean, plus, I mean, I come across a whole lot of. I'm big on equipment, but I'm also big on aesthetics and matching. I mean, pretty much every machine in South Hill now is mostly black. Some silver pieces. Danville, pretty much everything is black. Because Danville really has kind of a blacked out vibe. I mean, the ceilings, walls, everything is kind of a dark but well lit. So it's definitely a darker vibe there. But I came across a lot of machines that were I couldn't get what I thought they were valued. I mean, what they were worth to me. I'd rather keep them than sell them for something lower than I thought they were worth, just because I couldn't put them in South Hill or Danville because they were stand out. So South Boston has a little more variety of older machines, but just because I can't just throw in one random white machine in South Hill or it will stand out. So I mean, South Boston has the biggest variety of not just machines, but variety of brands.
Had a big variety of like different manufacturers and
TK Star to Techno Gym.
It was cool. You mentioned that you've got the 3 gyms. You've got another gym on the way. Is that where you're going to stop, or do you have any thoughts of opening a 5th gym?
So I mean, I'm not planning on stopping until they stop working. I always said that if I thought the second gym would be just as hard to do as the first one, but if I could do 2 with me not being there, because I used to live at the gym in South Hill. I mean, my oldest is 4.5. So for the first 3 years of the gym, I didn't have kids, and I basically lived here. I told you before, I don't really have any hobbies. I don't hunt or fish or play golf or really do anything. So I'm really lucky that my job is my hobby as well. So I spend a crazy amount of hours at the gym every week, but I mean, a lot of it just because I want to be here and I enjoy being here. Most people have to get off of work or wake up early before work to go to the gym. I mean, I consider my workouts, work time essentially, because I try to hit every different machine at all the different gyms. I mean, somewhat regularly, just because I think that I would notice or pay attention to things that might be wrong or things that don't feel right, more so than what somebody else might. And then a small issue that can be easily fixed becomes something that's messes up a cable or it takes a couple weeks to get fixed. I hate having a machine down. If I have a machine off, if it's going to be more than a week of out of order, I move it and take it off the floor and put it somewhere else, just because I hate having a sign up saying out of order somewhere. And the good thing about selling equipment is I usually always have something that can fill in for it. So nobody's really out of being able to use something that they want for more than a couple of days at a time.
Yeah, it's a nice luxury a lot of gym owners don't have.
Yeah. And I didn't have it first. So I mean, it really is a nice luxury.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could grow the gym equipment side of things a lot more, just because for one, it really helps being able to expand the gyms and grow the gyms. I think the initial question was talking about doing another gym. So, I mean, I've been looking at the fifth one basically since I agreed to do Cambridge. So Cambridge, I thought was going to open around September, but Cambridge is in a really small town, less than 1,000 people.
Oh wow.
The guy kind of talked me into doing it because he bought some downtown buildings and is doing some apartments around it, and got this grant money involved in historical building because it's an old downtown building. So it just took a lot longer than he really thought to get everything done. But he's doing. I'm essentially just waiting for the building to be ready, because that's mirrors. He's doing all the renovations. So it will certainly be the easiest gym to start up for me, just because I mean that's the biggest legwork and time requirement of opening up a new facility. Is I mean dealing with the I mean everything from the plumber to the painter to the electrician to the city with the permits and inspectors. And thankfully, I don't have to do really anything of that aspect in Cambridge. So I've worked more on the fifth gym than I have the fourth one, and the fourth one I'm just waiting for it to get ready for me to start moving stuff in. But the fifth one is the one that I would like to do, and we're looking at much bigger areas, just because, like I've told you before, I mean, I try to do a gym. I try to make all three of the gyms, I mean, essentially kind of bodybuilding, powerlifting style gyms, but we don't have the demographic in these areas to really support it or justify it the way that they're really set up. I think any of them, if you picked them up and put them in a lot bigger area, they would all do a lot better than they're even doing in these small areas. So the fifth one is the plan is to go to a lot bigger area, and it wouldn't really change a whole lot because I'm doing essentially what I would like to do in those areas here. It would just have a little less cardio. I mean, a little less of the kind of, I mean, I probably wouldn't have a torso rotation, and I mean, some of those machines that, I mean, the average person likes and wants, but not really the most bang for your buck when it comes to training effectively, I don't think. So the fifth one I've been buying equipment for before I even knew that the fifth one was an option. I've been buying stuff, hoping that I would do a gym at some point in a lot bigger area. So we're looking hard at places now, and I mean I pretty much have everything that I really need for it. I mean, part of why when you came, all the still have like about 10 pieces of panada on the pallets from when I ordered that before. I wish I could have seen you in South Boston when you came to visit there, because you didn't see the back part where all the gym equipment storage is.
I saw a bunch of stuff wrapped up. So,
but like I said, I have a whole container of Gymleco coming next month, and I mean, I got a lot of equipment on order that I'm just gonna put it in the other gyms if it the new one doesn't work out, or it takes longer than I'm thinking it might. But if the fifth one works out, it will be by far the best and the highest quality equipment out of any of them.
I noticed, if we go back to equipment just for a minute, I didn't notice a lot of like Rogers or Arsenal in any of your gyms. Have you stayed away from those, or just availability or Prime? I didn't notice any Prime either.
The only Arsenal I've got I don't really have any big Arsenal pieces. I have the Arsenal. I have the 35-degree leg press in Danville, which I really liked until I got the TKO Defiant leg presses in South Hill, that is made by Tom Eagleman, the same guy that created Nebula, who worked for Arsenal, which is why their design is very similar to the Nebula. But the Defiant is just, you really have to. Well, I think you tried it. I mean, did you try the?
Yeah,
you tried the Arsenal leg press, and then I mean,
yeah,
it's just it makes a big difference. But some of the other Arsenal pieces, I think they're good pieces. I just don't think the the price on them really justifies what they are. They do really great at social media, and I think that's really caused them to blow up. But the 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 pricing and the lead times for it don't justify, in my opinion, on what I can get elsewhere. Um, Prime, I told you I finally bit the bullet a couple weeks ago and ordered 6 pieces. Um, but a 52-week lead time and paying 50% up front for it, knowing you're not going to get it for over a year.
That's crazy.
But I've been getting prices from them for like 3 years probably, and I'm hoping that the prices will come down or the lead times will come down, and um, you just never see any of that on the used market just because whoever has it, they paid a premium for it and it took a long time to get it. So I don't think I've ever seen a prime piece locally for sale pretty much ever. Um, I know you mentioned you saw it. I finally went and bought a couple of Strive pieces. I guess it was 2 weeks ago. Really, just because it was right after I ordered the Prime. And I was like, if I spend this much on 6 pieces of Prime, I might as well go ahead and get these 3 for a fraction of it. But they were just in really good shape too. So I like the older machines and some of the older manufacturers. But if I throw them in my gyms now, a lot of people would just think that I'm skimping out trying to throw cheap equipment in there just because it's old or rusted out or just doesn't look new and shiny like the Panada and Atlantis and the new stuff that I get. So another reason of wanting to do one in a bigger area where people will recognize Strive a lot more than they would if I put it in like South Hill, for instance. But
yeah, that's one of the.
But on Rogers, I love Rogers. I just their Squat Pro, the Power Squat Pro. I'm gonna have that or something similar in every gym soon. I've got 2 max pump versions of it on order. But I just never used it before. I've never really been to many. I mean, the last year I've started going. I've been to a couple really nice gyms. But a lot of it, most of what I even order, I've never used before or seen in person.
I guess that's the advantage of being of selling equipment. If you get something in, you don't like it, you can always resell it to somebody else.
Yeah, I mean,
and buying high quality stuff. So
yeah, so it's even. I think I told you. I mean, for the Panada pieces, like the belt squat, the dips press that I actually had on my floor, I ended up trading to a guy for. I mean, a bunch of other pieces. We ended up working out, but not that they were. I mean, they were still great pieces, but I just didn't think that the belt squat was that much better. I think the pitch arc is the best belt squat, and I have 6 different ones now between the different gyms. Would have been 7 counting the Panada one, but besides the Squat Max that people just don't like using just because you got to vertically load it and it's a little more awkward to use. The Squat Max and the pitch shark, I think, are the 2 best belt squats that are out there.
Yeah, Squat Max is unique. I've used that one a couple times, and it's definitely unique, but it takes some getting used to. So
yeah, and people like to load things up, and the average person can load, I mean, 600-700 pounds on the pitch shark with no problem, depending on what if they're doing squats with it, and people just like being able to load stuff up. But that's why I like a lot of the Nautilus leverage machines, is because I mean the position of the plates, you don't really have to load it up a whole lot.
Oh yeah.
Where like especially a lot of the hammer stuff, you got to really, the hammer seated row that is one of the best hammer pieces in my opinion that they have, and I mean kind of universally that's a lot of people's favorite hammer piece. I put that in I had it in South Hill, and I put it in Danville when I got the Panada. They call it rowing, but it's basically the same kind of seated mid row as the hammer strength one, and it probably takes 40% of the weight on it to get kind of the same effect as the hammer strength one.
Yeah. It saves you on plates and loading up and unloading, and yeah, I love that Nautilus line that you've got in there.
Yeah.
Did you have any questions, Jay?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, just on, I guess a rough guesstimate. Do you have any idea how many of your members kind of cross train between the different gyms that would utilize more than just one of your facilities?
So Danville and South Boston, a whole lot more, just because they're only 30 minutes apart,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot more people just either live and work or frequent the other places. Not that many people drive from South Boston to South Hill or vice versa for many reasons.
Gotcha.
But I do a $29 all access. I call it all access upgrade. So for $29, you get access to all of them.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. So yeah,
so a lot of people frequent those two a lot more. And Cambridge is only about 20-ish minutes from South Hill.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot more people will frequent South Hill and Cambridge together, just like they do South Boston and Danville together. But
Gotcha.
not as many as you might think, just because, I mean, the con of opening up gyms in small towns is I can't open one 10 miles away. I'll just be robbing from myself.
Sure.
So all of them are, I mean, like I said, the first one and the third one are over 90 minutes apart.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually surprised more of the serious lifters in Danville don't come to South Hill, just because I think, just to be able to try all the different stuff.
Right.
But I mean, a lot of people don't want to spend 3 hours of driving just to go work out.
Sure.
Not many people would be like Chris, who drove. Like, how many hours did you drive the day that you drove from? You hit all three of them in the same day, and then went back to Maryland.
Well, it was 3 hours, 3.5 hours down to Danville. I think I did back there, drove over to South Hill and did shoulders. So that was another couple hours over to South Boston. And then I think I did legs at South Hill. So I was probably, by the time I got home, because I went the furthest away and then came back, it was probably 8-10 hour day.
That was a lot of driving to go to different gyms. But
I just, after meeting you at South Hill that one day and seeing that gym, I really wanted to get to the other two gyms. And you had told me about all the changes you'd already made at South Hill, and I wanted to get back there. So, and you had added like a whole row of equipment. So
yeah, it looked a lot different.
Yeah.
The month and a half, probably whatever the difference was when you came the first time and the second time. But for the most part, I'm done. And so we did a lot of painting and did some stuff to the outside. Cosmetically to the building, we did a whole lot of stuff too. So I was trying to get all that done before Cambridge. So now I was almost just kind of at a waiting game, waiting for Cambridge to start, which is kind of why I'm focusing so much on looking into the potential fifth gym. Kind of this low I have before it gets kind of crazy again for a little bit as we get used to the fourth one.
Yeah, we won't hold you much longer. Just one more question. Having been so successful with your 3 gyms, now your 4th one coming up in these small towns, do you have any advice for anyone else that's thinking of opening a gym in a small town?
I would say, I mean, know your demographic. A lot of what South Hill has done now has come from, I mean, kind of side hustles and other investments in selling equipment, not as much as just the gym itself. And everything the gym has made, I mean, I pretty much either put back into this one, or it was used to help do the second one or the third one. So I told you before, I spent more on flooring and paint in Danville than I did on the entire gym in South Hill when I first opened 7.5 years ago. So while hopefully you like and appreciate the gym in South Hill right now, you probably wouldn't have been overly impressed with it 7 years ago.
I'm sure it still had a great atmosphere. I mean, you do a good job of putting a good vibe in your gyms.
But so, I mean, I guess not overdoing it to begin with, and not getting yourself in a hole. I mean, I put everything I could into it at the beginning. I just didn't have a whole lot to really put in it. And I think if I was if I had gone down the gym equipment rabbit hole before I opened this first gym, it probably wouldn't be a second and a third gym right now, just because I would have overspent on money. I would have overspent on everything at the first gym just to try to make it the gym exactly like I want. When the small town wouldn't have really justified it to the extent that it was really necessary. That and just I really opened up. I wasn't making a whole lot as probation officer. I just wasn't happy doing what I was doing. And I remember I did MMA for a couple of years, and the guy that owns the other gym in South Hill is a really great guy. And I mean, I still kind of view him as a role model. But I mean, I remember sitting in his office just kind of bullshitting with him, being like, I mean, I want to be like you. Like, I want to do this. I want people to come talk to me. Just want to whim at the gym and hanging out. And I really did the first gym, thinking that if I could just get by with it, I was going to be happy. I wasn't happy with what I was doing before. And then luckily it did well, and I just kind of took it and ran with it and figured more of a good thing is a better thing. So just kind of keep throwing them up. But the question was about somebody else opening up another gym. A gym in a small town. Really just, and also just doing the most that you can. I told you before, I didn't even have a manager until we did the third gym. Before that, I was, kind of overextending myself, but doing hiring manager. Now each place has its own manager. And I still work a lot. I still work the same amount of hours, probably really less than I was before, just because I'm home a lot more with the girls. But now my time is more spent focusing on trying to do the fourth gym and working on the fifth gym and buying equipment and trying to do. Done a couple big installs for like high schools and helped out a couple people that were opening up gyms that were overall pretty big equipment sales that I wouldn't have been able to do if I was kind of the manager of each of the gyms. So I probably kind of did that a little too late. I just didn't really know that I really could and that it would be better for me to. But the first couple of years of the gym, I was the cleaner, I was the janitor, basically did everything. Where I still do some of that, but not nearly as much as what I was. And just kind of opened up my time to do other stuff. But I think that's kind of necessary early on because, it's hard to open up a new business. You kind of, not many people have so much savings when they're opening up a small business. You kind of usually throw everything you got to in it. And it's hard to pay other people to do things that you can do when you're kind of struggling and worried about how long lasting the business will be.
Right.
So I guess be willing to do as much as you can and be willing to kind of save until you're ready, until you're able and more kind of fiscally responsible enough to kind of splurge on some prime and renovations and add-ons and different things, just because you got to make sure the business is viable first.
Great.
All right. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you very much. And if you haven't been down in Southern Virginia to check out the Fit Club, definitely do it. You won't be disappointed. All three of these gyms are great gyms. We will put links to all three reviews in the comments, and we'll put a link to Will's website for the Fit Club down in the comments, so you can find these great gyms and check them out. Thank you.
Thanks for your time, Will.
Hey, thank y'all. I appreciate it.
You got it, sir. Take care.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more great content.